Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Before we settle in this week, I think I finally found a name for this community. You're not just listeners or viewers. You're the ones who go looking into dark places with curiosity, not fear. So from here on out, you, sitting there by the fire with me tonight, you're one of the lantern bearers. So pull your chair a little closer to the fire, because this one needs a flame, a quiet night, and a little wind whispering through the dark. Because the legend we're stepping into tonight isn't tied to just one place, one country, or even one era. It's older than borders, older than kings, older than religions even. Some say it began before humans could write, when lightning was still considered the anger of the gods and thunder carried hooves instead of weather. And if you've been with our weird world for a while, you already know. They're beings people never wanted to see, voices they prayed they'd never hear, and signs that meant nothing good was coming. Tonight's legend ties many of these threads together. Tonight, we talk about the Wild Hunt. Most versions of the story say the same thing. The hunt never appears during sunlight. It waits for the deep hours, those hours when the air feels wrong and the world goes still. Some say it comes in midwinter when the world is closest to death. Others say it rises near the equinox when the veil between the realms grows thin. Still others whisper that it appears during storms when thunder hides the sound of hooves until it's too late. The stories change in detail right after that, but they all agree on one warning. If you hear distant hoofbeats when there's no horse that should be riding, don't look, don't open your door, and don't step outside, because the hunt doesn't ride to be seen, it rides to collect. There is a story from the village of Swellenberg in what is now Germany, sometime in the medieval era. A young shepherd boy, no older than 12, stayed late with his flock. A storm was forming, clouds were stacking like mountains, and lightning flashed in the distance. The sheep were restless, stamping, shaking their wool, and trying to flee. At first, the boy thought he heard thunder, but thunder doesn't bark, thunder doesn't scream, and thunder doesn't come in rhythm. Hooves, many hooves, racing, flying, not from the earth but from above. The boy looked up, and there, through the storm clouds, he saw figures. Tall riders, cloaks made from shadows, spears that glowed with cold fire, and hounds with burning eyes and breath like winter frost. The leader, a towering figure with one eye burning like a star, turned his head, and though the boy swore he was miles below, the hunter saw him. When the hunt passed overhead, every sheep dropped dead where they stood. The boy survived, but he never spoke again. Some said his soul had been taken. Others said the hunt had allowed him to live, but took everything else. To witness of the time, it was an omen, because months later, war tore across the region and plague followed. People whispered, it wasn't just a sighting, it was a warning. Over the centuries, people put different names to the one who leads the wild hunt. In the north, they said it was Odin or Woden, his wolves and ravens pacing the sky beside him. In Britain, the hunt belonged to the ruler of the Otherworld, accompanied by the spectral hounds with their red ears and white bodies. In France, some called him Herne the Hunter, a spirit with the antlers of a stag and the fury of the forest. And then there were the darker versions where the leader wasn't a god or an ancient fey king, but a damned soul cursed to hunt forever because he had once hunted without mercy on earth. A murderer, a cruel noble, a lord who shed blood for pleasure. And when he leads the hunt, no blessing follows, only ruin. Across all cultures, there are certain things, warnings that echo again and again. Rules whispered from one generation to the next. Rules to avoid joining the hunt. Never whistle at night, you may call the riders. Never answer when you hear your name outside, especially if no one can be seen. Never pick up an object dropped in the road. It may be bait, testing whether you belong to the living or the dead. Avoid crossroads at night where worlds touch. And above all, if you hear them pass, lie down, face the earth, make no sound, and pray they did not notice you. Because if they did, you may well be swept up into their ranks, riding, screaming, and hunting, no longer remembering who you were before. Legends aren't always ancient. Some are frighteningly modern. A story from 1978 comes from a rustic village in Wales. A man named Gareth Evans, a farmer known for being rational and skeptical, the kind of man who laughed at the talk of fairies and spirits, was walking home just after midnight. The wind had been strange all evening. Gusts, then silence, then gusts again. The animals were all looking uneasy. Gareth thought nothing of it. He was halfway along an old road home when the sound began. Not loud, not close, just distant hooves. At first, he assumed someone was riding the bridle path nearby. But the sound grew louder, impossibly fast, like dozens of horses running full speed across the sky. The wind began to howl, sharp as knives. And then he heard the hounds. Not normal dogs, but something deeper, something ancient. Their cries were neither barking nor howling, but something in between a scream and a howl, something that made every instinct in him to scream to run. Gareth froze, and then he remembered something his grandma once whispered to him as a boy. If the hunt passes, get low, hide your eyes, and do not speak. So Gareth dropped face down into the mud. The night exploded around him. Hooves pounded through the air. Wind rattled the trees. Something enormous rushed past, and Gareth later claimed he could feel dozens of forms sweeping over him. But the worst part? He heard voices, laughing, whispering, and calling his name. Not just one, but hundreds. And then, silence. When he finally lifted his head, the road was empty. But the next morning, every single one of his livestock was found dead in their pasture. No blood, no signs of killing, just death. Gareth never again mocked superstition. The wild hunt isn't tied to any one land. It belongs to many. Norse, German, Welsh, Celtic, French, English, Scandinavian, and even further afield. Every culture describes the same things. A storm, a night when the veil thins, riders no longer belonging to the living, hounds whose howls are already half in the grave, and a warning. To witness it is to stand on the edge of another world. Some people believe the hunt's never ended. It simply waits. Waits for the right season, the right night, and the right weather. And the world feels stranger, and the wind holds too many voices. When dogs bark at empty air, when thunder sounds like hooves, perhaps that's when the hunt truly rides again. Not for land, not for treasure, but for souls. As the fire burns low and the night deepens, remember this. Some legends don't fade. Some move with us, across borders, across centuries, waiting for the moment we forget to fear them. And if someday you hear hoofbeats where none should be, if dogs howl and no storm is coming, maybe, just maybe, you should go back inside, lay low, and let the hunt pass by. As we leave you here, remember, the legends of our weird world are boundless. If you've enjoyed tonight's story, please share, like, and subscribe to keep these old tales alive. Until next time, stay curious and keep your lantern lit.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.